Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Claire Hill is the founder of the Vivid Business Club and host of the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. She's also planning to launch her own network in Kent, which is going to be based on making friends more than doing business. Thank you for being my guest on the podcast today, Claire.
Oh, it's so lovely to be here, Liz. Thank you for having me.
Now, you're a mentor in self-belief and a podcast host too. But first of all, what's your background? Where have you come from? What did you study, Claire?
Oh, wow, right. So once upon a time, a long time ago, I had big dreams of being a vet, actually, and then and teaching. But I ended up working in the support services as a support worker for adults with learning disabilities.
Yeah.
And then I trained in a degree in health services management. So that came from an idea that I wanted to manage my own support homes with adults with learning disabilities. And I loved that work. I went on to manage many homes with a big team. However, I then went into the community actually and helped homeless families and led a team there. But I was made redundant and I thought Educating Essex was on the TV at the time. And I thought, I'm going to go and be a teacher. And I wrote 40 letters to the schools across the county and said, look, I've got this massive experience in the health and social care industry. I'd also had a business at that point. I already had one that I had been self-employed with. It was more jewellery and accessories making, quite handmaking, you know what I mean? Like making things with my hands.
Handmade, yeah.
That's it. And which I had great success with. But again, it was this safety that I really wanted, regular income. I'd had a mortgage and I wanted that security. So I went into education, taught health and social care, and then ended up teaching maths.
Oh, wow.
I love maths. So I in the education system, which I think everyone can appreciate, and even in any sort of company, you know, you have the core roles, the roles that you're never going to be made redundant from, or you will finally, you'll be able to have those skills and get another job somewhere else. It was all about the safety at that point. So I taught maths and I was promoted to assistant head teacher and I loved it. And then I had my son Jackson, and during the year off, I started making art with wire.
Yeah.
And it ended up being incredibly successful, more successful than I realised. And the year that I returned to work, at one point, and Liz, I do recognise this sounds absolutely terrifying if anyone was going to do this themselves. I was still breastfeeding my son in the morning and evening. I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning to make art, going into work and doing 5 days full-time as assistant head teaching maths, coming home, spending time with my son, putting him to bed, then planning my lessons and marking my books before doing my social media and going to bed.
And how much sleep were you getting, Claire?
Not enough to have a 1-year-old child who was waking up in the middle of the night. So I was really close to burnout, and I probably was burnt out. And then COVID happened, and the business grew even further. I was doing a master's degree at the time in leadership of inclusion as well. Oh yeah, I was doing that as well. And I absolutely thrive off learning. I love it, and I love the writing process and studying and doing a piece of work like a master's degree is you have to enjoy the writing and the process of it.
Yes.
And through that, I thought, right, this job where I'm at now, it's not giving me what I want. I'm going to go and get another job. They wanted to support my research, which was very exciting at the time. But then the job fell through. And then I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? My sister did offer me a job as a primary school teacher, but she said I had to teach PE. And from teaching maths, lovely behind a classroom, a desk, I wasn't really up for that. So I said to my husband, I haven't got a job. And he said, well, you've got Vivid Wire. Now, because the business had grown to such a wonderful stage, I had lots of other business owners saying, how did you do it? And then I fell into the mentoring and coaching world and realised that the blend of everything that I've taught, from working with adults with learning disabilities as 16 to, teaching maths and working with some really vulnerable children as my role in assistant head, the fact that I know how to teach is obviously really fundamental when I'm delivering courses. But every single step that I've taken, I've been supporting people to be their most vivid and wonderful self. And now I get to do it for people and help them make lots of money. Yeah. So it's just everything has come to a perfect, it's just everything has fallen into place, and all of my skills transfer. So that's that's where I've been. And
I love it because it's you're a little bit like me in that you didn't set out to do what you're doing now, but everything is just kind of aligned.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell me about the Vivid Business Club, which is what you run now. And I love the name, by the way.
Thank you. Well, there's a story to the name. There's a story to everything, as you know. People love stories, but my maiden name is Vidler, and so everybody has always called me Vid since all of my friends, and because I don't know, it's just easier to. Well, it's the same as saying Claire. I don't know, but everyone just calls me Vid, and it's one of those names where I would just introduce myself and say, "Hi, I'm Claire Vidler," and they'd say, "Oh, Vidler, that's a really weird name." Oh, okay. And then it would just be Vid. I wouldn't have to say, "Oh, most people call me Vid." So I was sitting at a traffic lights one day, and I must have seen the word vivid, but I thought, oh, that's cool. It's got vid in it.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love a business one day that had the word vivid in it. And then my next thought was, I'd probably have to run a printing company, because it'd be about being vivid colours on paper or something. I don't know. And then the idea went. So when I created Vivid Wire, I had vivid in the names because I was always using, and I don't really do the art anymore, but it was all about being vivid and showing off your vivid self within art.
Yeah.
Then I started the podcast, No Rest for the Vivid. So there's no rest for the people that are vivid. And then the Vivid Business Club was born. And the premise and the mission that we're on within the Vivid Business Club is to support you to be your most vivid self and believe that you are enough as your most vivid self. And it's about saying, the box that was probably constructed for you feels uncomfortable because you were never meant to fit in it. You're vivid. Be who you really are. So really embodying the word vivid, that it's about being your most bold self. And it's not about being bold. It's about just being really, truly who you are.
Yeah. And I think self-belief is one of those things that a lot of us lack, don't we?
Yeah. And I think that there isn't enough emphasis on how important it is, because I see a lot of people talking about that all you need is to believe in yourself. However, how do you do that?
Yes.
And I came from, my childhood was quite traumatic. I'll say the very short story, which sort of de-emotionalizes it, if that's a word. But we grew up in quite extreme poverty. My dad passed away. He was an alcoholic, but he passed away when I was 8. My mum was pregnant with my brother, and we had 2 younger sisters, and I have 2 older sisters from my dad's first marriage. And my mum had quite severe mental health issues once he passed away, and she was pregnant. Obviously, she was only 37 when it happened. So I became a young carer. And through all of that, I didn't have the same foundations and anchor that potentially I could have had if I didn't have had that trauma. Yeah. And one of the symptoms of the trauma that sort of, because of how traumatic it was, I've got like a meerkat sort of response to things. Yeah. I'm always on the lookout for, and I'm so much better than I used to be, but it used to be like, what's going to go wrong now? What's going to go wrong now? Yeah. And it just felt like I was just a plastic bag floating around, just trying to secure myself to some kind of safety. And I believed that safety existed in an education, in a career in education, making sure I had a mortgage somewhere, because not having a home that you could, like a family home you can go back to, you haven't got that anchor. So when I did my master's degree, I thought this is the issue that children face when they face trauma, because it's not the trauma that creates the issue or the challenge for that child or as an adult as you grow up. It's the lack of somebody to help you with it, that consistent caregiver. And I didn't have that. So because that wasn't, and I didn't have that natural anchor, when I got to that understanding, I thought, well, I've got to sort this out now. How can I create that anchor for myself? And then self-belief attaches to that anchor. So that anchor is in the form of knowing who you really are. What are you here to do? Being vivid and allowing yourself to do that. But also, when you believe in yourself, all of the intricacies that go into doing that. Self-trust. Like the most common thing I always ask people, and I fell at this hurdle yesterday, do you snooze your alarm? So Liz, do you snooze your alarm in the morning?
I don't, no.
Good. Amazing, Liz. You get 10 points. So if you're saying to yourself, I am going to get up tomorrow morning at 6:30, you are making a promise to yourself. If then you turn that alarm off and get back into bed, you've broken that promise to yourself immediately. So therefore, the trust has been compromised. And when you ask yourself to do something really big, like go on a podcast or, generate a 6-figure, 7-figure business, your doubt in your head's going, are you serious? You can't even get up on time. So there's all these tiny little layers that are involved. It's like it's like a weave of all of these things that take us to that destination of creating a really solid self-belief and working on it all of the time as well. It's a daily practice.
Yeah. So how do the people that you work with, how do they find their way to you?
I've got a social media presence. It's not, I've got about nearly 2,000 followers on Instagram. Most people find me that way, through reels and stuff. But my most successful way of people finding me is through word of mouth. So somebody will find me and then they will talk about me to somebody else, and I might pick up some clients. I'll go to my hairdressers, and obviously hairdressers are businesses, so I give her support. Then she's got somebody coming in that tells somebody else about it, and it's a connect. I love building that connection. So when people find me, and if they join the Vivid Business Club, I always have a welcome call with them. I want to connect with them to understand their challenges. What are they already winning at? Where do they want to go from that? And networking and meeting people. What happens though, Liz, is as soon as I go to a networking event, I always will sit down and I will start coaching somebody. And it's not one of those things that I think that I wouldn't say, I don't want to do. I love doing it. But it's one of those funny things in life where every time I sit down with somebody, it might just be a 5-minute chat. They're telling me their life story, and I know I can see, and I'll go, well, what about if you did it like this? Or reframe just a little sentence, and they're like, oh my goodness. And then they go, how can I work with you?
So tell me about the Vivid Business Club then. Who is it for?
It's for mainly female online business owners, though we do have some, actual physical businesses in there as well. And it's usually they're healing from past experiences. So they potentially have, they may not see their self-worth as vividly as they should. So, and also usually they've left the corporate world and gone into business, and they just want to find a tribe of people that, a group of people that there's not going to be any cliques, there's not going to be bitchiness, there's just we're all in this together, let's lift each other up. So it's really for people that are, and women that want to find people like them. And I created the Vivid Business Club because I was searching for something like it, and I couldn't find it. I did join a few members. There's a few memberships out there, and I'm only speaking of the ones that I've joined, but some are too big, so the founder has no idea who you are. I know every single member inside the Vivid Business Club, and I think that I can do that because of being an assistant head teacher with all of those children. I knew all of their names. I knew, what was going on. You just sort of learn to remember it all. The other thing that I wanted there to be, for it to be big enough for great networking opportunities and support of each other, but small enough that they actually can build connection.
Yeah.
And I think when you're running a business, you are usually if you're an entrepreneur, definitely in the beginning, you're on your own. You're on your own a lot. And I felt I wanted to feel like I wasn't anymore, but still work for myself. And the beauty of the Vivid Business Club is that we have an online co-working space that's open all the time. We have like theme days. So on a Monday, we have our CEO day. And that is for everyone goes, they'll find themselves a lovely coffee shop and they're doing, the stuff that moves the needle. We're all doing it on a Monday. But people working there, they're not on their own anymore. And also it increases productivity because it's like a mirroring effect where they see someone else working, therefore they're going to be working because, as you get distracted less, you procrastinate less. It's very... I just wanted to create a space that people felt really safe in. And I think sometimes it can be done with the best intentions, but I also think that creating a community, you have to have experienced quite a few beforehand.
Yeah.
And I was just very wary of, especially working in a school, and how important community is, how important connections are. Whether, we are moving more now into, we are in a lot more in-person events now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And everything's gone back into the real world and not always online. But how important that is that we've now adjusted to that and we can build connections online. And it's just opened up the world, isn't it, in that way?
Yeah. So what do you find that your members are getting from being part of your business club?
Definitely a sense that they're not in it on their own. If they have a challenge that they're facing, they don't need to fall into sort of like a doom spiral. They can get support immediately on that. It's very much a coaching membership in that, but the fact that members empower each other to share their knowledge and their wisdom. They get a lot of training. So if there's marketing training in there, there's business strategy. There's a lot about productivity, how you can make your business work really efficiently, so it frees up more time for you to do what you love to do, as well as there's a lot of well-being stuff in there too. So I talk a lot about warrior energy. I love and this came out of my master's degree, about that my research was how to support teachers more effectively in supporting trauma affected children, and how you can reduce behaviour issues and increase attainment and progress within the classroom as a teacher, even though these children have got everything against them. From that research, I created this idea of, if you have... A lot of people say you've got to fill your cup before you pour from it. But warrior energy is about increasing your capacity to be more resilient and be more motivated. And so therefore you procrastinate less. But and also you have more capacity to believe in yourself, because self-belief and intuition is a stronger voice than the doubt you hear. But because you don't give enough space to hear your intuition and self-belief, your doubt has the volume up. So you're thinking that that's the right thing. You should be listening to the doubt, when it's not that. It's just allowing yourself more space to hear your intuition and your self-belief. And that's what warrior energy gives you. So I teach them how to create that in your day. And I've got members in there that have got children and potentially other jobs. They've got big families, they've got lots on their plates. But it's about saying your energy is the most vital and important thing in you, in your life and your business. Without your energy, you can't grow, you can't sustain your self-belief, you can't show up, you can't go to networking events, you can't do these things. So give yourself that time, preferably in the morning, but it can happen every day, just to feel some joy. And that could be going for a lovely walk, a silent walk even is even better, listening to your favourite music and dancing around the kitchen, or doing some writing. I love writing. I don't call it journaling, but that's basically what it is. I love how you can empty your brain and the capacity it gives you afterwards. And this is not just for women, by the way. Like, men listening, warrior energy is for you too. My husband has got his warrior energy toolkit. He does it every day. My father-in-law does, even though he's retired. You know, it's for everybody. It's about saying you deserve to feel joy every day.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Love it. Now, clearly you've got quite a network going within the Vivid Business Club, but how do you go about networking outside of that group?
So I've got, I attend virtual networking. Obviously, my business is very online, but I do attend some local networking events. And I'm actually thinking, well, I am going to create my own in the local area. It's going to be called the Vivid Connection Club because I want there to be connections. I want people to, it's not going to be about the business. It's going to be about making friends. And I want there to be more of a focus on, so when they're connecting, the business owners that come, I want them to say, so what are you watching on Netflix at the moment? You know, so where are you going on holidays? What's your story of how you got here? Not what do you do?
Yeah.
I want there to be more essence of them as they come to these events. But I absolutely adore meeting other business owners. I love the conversations that you can have with other business owners and entrepreneurs about mindset and vision and strategy. They're just so exciting. Like, you just feel so motivated when you're networking.
Yeah. Whereabouts in the country are you, Claire?
I'm in Kent, North Kent.
So that's where your new network's going to be.
Yeah, it's gonna be Medway and Maidstone. If anyone knows Kent, that's where I'm going to base it.
Fantastic. So tell me a bit about your podcast too. Who's it for and what's the format of it?
It's all about telling stories of where you have faced your fears and been in the dip of entrepreneurship and really facing your doubt, but you faced it head on and you did the thing anyway, and how that feels. And I think there have been many times when I've faced massive periods of discomfort where I thought it is so much easier to give up right now. Like, I don't know if I've got enough self-belief to get through this. And then I go back to what I teach. And I am very much like, I do what I preach because I know it works. And then I get through to the other side and the wins that I get are amazing. And I just don't hear enough of the stories of the messy middle. So I wanted a podcast about those stories. And it's so wonderful because, you know, I've had massive people that have got, 7-8 figure businesses on there talking about the same kind of feelings that I experience now, or some of the Vivid Business Club members. And it just allows you to see what's possible. That to know that in those moments when things feel really, really tough and you don't know if you've got the nerve, you just need to hold on that little bit longer and everything will work out. As long as you're following your intuition and your gut and you feel like things, everything is aligned, it fits with your mission, your vision, your values. But it's just your doubt saying, oh, can you really do it though? Bit tough, isn't it? Are you really good enough? All of those horrible things that our doubt says to us. We can get past that. The other side is what we're searching for.
Yeah. And what's the name of your podcast?
No Rest for the Vivid.
That's right. It's No Rest for the Vivid. Love it. So finally, what do you get from going networking and why do you continue to do it?
I do it for ideas. I feel really inspired when I meet somebody new and I hear about how their business runs or what they do in their business and how they got to where they are. They're like their own very own butterfly effect. And from that, I usually am very inspired. And there's some ideas that you hear. I'm one of those people that I'll meet someone, I'll have loads of ideas and I give them away because they just fall into my head. But I get so many ideas from talking to other people because it's about their experiences. And being an entrepreneur, I think you have to embody the idea that you don't know it all and you're never going to know it all. But to understand all of the different ways that people connect, engage, how they live and how they face each day, to understand and experience all of that, you have to have conversations.
Yeah.
So I get so much out of it.
Fantastic. So one last question. If people want to know more about you and your business and your podcast, what is the best place for them to find you, Claire?
I've got a website. It's clarehill.uk. I've got some free stuff on there. So if anyone would love to take in some masterclasses, it's all on there. And I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. And it's very easy. I am Claire Hill on everything. So
Easy.
I am Claire Hill, all one word. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much, Claire, and have a vivid day.
Thank you, Liz. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.